Hello friends, and welcome to Tuesdays at Tiny Taiga. I'm Blake. This is episode 14. 14! I have committed to this every week for 14 weeks. You better be with me every week from now on. Okay, the thing I want to talk about today, which is just a glimpse of what I think about and am eventually trying to really share with you in the bigger picture sense, is the fear of vulnerability, the fear that we are all living with and coming from, why it's there and how we can beat it and what it looks like on the other side. So I think that those of us who talk about this awareness, this consciousness, all these things that sound so woo-woo and certainly sounded super woo-woo prior to about 5 to 10 years ago. Those of us that talk about this, it means everything to us. Everything to me it comes back to understanding who I am, understanding who other people are, and understanding the relationship that I have to the world around me. And as I've mentioned before, I do take full responsibility for every part of my life, good and bad. I take responsibility for how I feel, how I think, every thought that pops into my head. I look at it, I pay attention to it, I want to understand it. So understanding that so many of us, even those of us who have been trying to live consciously for decades, we still have so much fear that drives our daily decisions, and it drives a force that is essentially attracting to us all these experiences over and over. And we tend to not understand exactly why. The fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of vulnerability. That fear, when we choose from that place and we act from that place, essentially draws to us more experiences, more people, more relationships, more thoughts that either allow us to continue to believe there's reason to fear. We bring things to us that allow us to say, see, look, this is what I was afraid of. They hurt me. They lied to me. They betrayed me. They didn't acknowledge me. They didn't say I was beautiful or smart or talented. I mean, we hide behind that fear. We hide behind the unwillingness to really push ourselves in front of that fear. The fear of being hurt, right? This idea of being hurt. That certainly has been my motivator and my driving force from a very young age. My fear of vulnerability had to do with men in the grander sense. I felt vulnerable to their systems, to their ideas. I felt like I was weak compared to them. When you're a child and you see that religions and politics and family structures and all of these systems looked like they were geared toward holding women down. For me, that sense of fear, that fear of being vulnerable to that kind of power, made me challenge it my whole life. And I've challenged it. I've challenged the patriarchy, the systems my whole life. I've never been comfortable plugging into those belief systems, and ultimately it left me in a place where I wasn't capable of being vulnerable. I was completely unwilling to put myself in that position. I made sure that I was completely independent of other people's thoughts and feelings and programs, and didn't really understand how to be soft and feminine and kind and gentle and still feel like I was in my power. That has changed, but that has taken, a 20-something year journey to get me to the point where I understand that fear, that's what was motivating me, and that was what was coming out of me. And that was ultimately what I was attracting to me. I attracted more experiences for me to be able to honor that fear. Like, I attracted men that I was either gave me the reason to be afraid of being vulnerable to them, or they gave me no reason at all. Either they were way too safe, didn't challenge me at all, it certainly didn't feel right for me, or they gave me no reason to trust them, no reason to let my guard down, no reason to let go. This is how we live. We live coming from these two places where instead of really acknowledging what it is that we're afraid of being hurt, we're afraid of losing face, we're afraid of not being good enough, not feeling like we're good enough, we're afraid of not having enough, not getting enough, not making enough. this fear is driving us subconsciously and indirectly, but what it's attracting us to us is there solely for our opportunity to grow and to learn to evolve from it. If we look at what it is that we're afraid of, and instead of just saying, okay, how do I get around this fear, and subconsciously attract opportunities for us to perpetuate that idea or to allow that idea continue. If we address that fear head on, what is it that I'm afraid of? And can I actually be hurt? Can I actually, physically I can be hurt, but can I actually be hurt inside? Can you actually fail? Can you actually ever lose that essence that is inherent and divine in all of us? You can't lose it. When you understand that and you feed that core of you, the day-to-day stuff doesn't appear to be as important and doesn't certainly look like it has the potential to do greater damage. So for me, I continuously, daily challenge my fear. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid of looking stupid. I'm afraid of not making sense. I'm afraid of people not taking me seriously. I'm afraid of too much attention, unwanted attention. I'm afraid of feeling weak or feeling small or feeling unimportant or feeling too important. I'm afraid of making the wrong decisions or not really honoring the truth of who I am and living my life fully. So that's what I challenge every day. Every day I challenge myself to trust myself, to follow my own instincts, my own desires, my own heart, my own soul, and understanding what the difference is between that little voice that says, this is scary, let's not do this, or that little voice that's saying, this is scary, let's do this, let's go ahead and do this, this feels right. And eventually, I think when we honor that fear and we walk into that fear and we understand that there really isn't anything to be afraid of, then we start to create a different orbit of energy surrounding us. And what comes to us are no longer those challenges. If you believe that the world is out to get you, you're going to get lots of different opportunities to prove that to be correct. If you believe that the world is out to support you and to honor you and to provide opportunities for you to live a happy, healthy life, you're going to see more of that. So to me, eventually, after you've fought those fears, and even though it may not look like you're feeling that great about what's happening, or it may not look like you're accomplishing all those goals and plans and feelings and experiences that you're hoping to accomplish, eventually that energy has shifted and what comes to you is very different, and those challenges are not as frequent. The challenge you meet immediately rather than 5 years later, 10 years later after you've repeated that program over and over. So my feelings, as I continue to fight through my own fears of vulnerability, my own fears of failure, my own fears of success, knowing conceptually how absurd those fears really are, I still have to face them daily. And that's what I'm trying to inspire you guys to do as well. Face them, walk through them, embrace them, understand them, dig through them, learn through them. And on the other side of that is a feeling and a sense of peace and calm and wholeness and connection to the world and connection to each other. And to come from that place is so much more soothing and so much more fun than to come from that place of fear. So I challenge you to face those fears every second and every minute of the day that they pop up, and you will be rewarded on the other side. Thank you. Have a good week.